Hey everybody, it's Benny One, and I'm back at you with another movie review, and we are gonna review Sony's Morbius, everybody. That is right. So, I'm gonna keep this spoiler free because the movie actually comes out tomorrow. And let's just start off from the very beginning. So, the first trailer for this movie dropped like 2 years ago, and we all know why the movie was delayed at first, because of COVID, of course, yada yada. We've heard that spiel way too many times over the past couple years. So that was the reasoning behind why the movie was delayed for the first few times. And then the other delays after watching this movie, I'm kind of starting to think that there was more delays to this movie because of the way that it turned out, to tell you the truth. So let's dive right into this, everybody. So this movie is directed by Daniel Espinosa, everybody. And of course, it stars Jared Leto, everybody, not Leto. The other day I was watching a video of someone talking about Jared Leto, and kept calling him Jared Leto. His name is Leto. But he plays Dr. Michael Morbius, everybody, and he has this blood condition that affects him and is kind of basically slowly killing him. Like, he really physically can't walk, and he has no muscles. It's killing him slowly, basically. So he tries to come up with this cure. And of course, as we saw in the trailers, he accidentally infects himself with vampire blood or whatever, I guess you want to call it. And he turns himself into basically a vampire monster thing. And he's called Morbius because it's Morbius from the comic books, everybody. And Jared Leto, okay, you know what? I'm gonna get right into this, people. The movie was not very good. Okay, it was not very good. I'm gonna say a few good things about the movie, and then it's all pretty much gonna be negative. Unfortunately, it wasn't that good of a comic book movie, or a movie in general. And Jared Leto, I would say that he really should just stop in the comic book genre. I'm just gonna say that. I really think he should move on from the comic book genre and go back to the more type of movies that he used to do like over a decade ago. I just don't think it suits him very well. I did not like his Joker. His Morbius was okay. I thought it was all right, I guess, but I could have pictured a lot of other people playing this character, but it was okay. It wasn't bad. I will say that this was probably one of his more least eccentric roles or whatever that he's done in a while, because most of his movies that he's playing a character, they're very eccentric and they're just very out there and different, because that's what Jared Leto is into doing with his movie characters. Like his House of Gucci character, like he literally sounded like Mario, for Christ's sakes. But yeah, his Morbius was okay. I thought he looked cool when he transformed into Morbius, when they showed him like learning how to use his abilities and stuff. I thought that stuff was kind of cool, and showing him like using the jumping, and it was kind of cool. I mean, there is stuff to enjoy in the movie, but this movie feels like it was made back in like 2004. It feels like that type of comic book movie, where I think comic book movies over the years have grown and learned and taken the pacing and the stories and all this stuff. Because I mean, this movie is a straightforward story. It's nothing big and epic and grand in scale. It's just a smaller group of characters about Morbius and his friend Milo, who's played by Matt Smith. It's a smaller set, straightforward story and movie, but the problem is the execution of it is just, God, it's not good at all. The concepts are great with what they were doing with the story. They had a great concept. I mean, you're taking a horror type character with vampires and Dracula and all of that, which has been around forever, and then you're mashing it together with a comic book genre, because Morbius is that character where you take Dracula, vampire, whatever, and a comic book character, and he's an anti-hero nowadays. So like the concept was there, and I could see the concept watching the movie, but the execution is just bleh. It's not good at all. I don't know what happened behind the scenes with this movie, because the editing, the pacing, and everything is just all over the freaking place. And they don't really build up any like emotion or anything really intriguing with the characters in this movie, because you get like introduced to characters and they tell you about them, and then it jumps from scene to scene to scene to scene and plot point to plot point to plot point, and it's just so quick moving and everything. And they montage through certain things also when it comes to Morbius, and it's just the pacing in this movie was not very good at all. Matt Smith is in this movie. Like I said, he plays Milo. Michael Keaton is also in this movie, returning to play the Vulture, who is in prison. And you saw him in the trailer, which I was still surprised why they put that in the trailer, but the thing that was in the trailer is not in this movie. So that's why I say that the delays that this movie has had recently, I think it was because of other reasons. Because to me, I feel like they went back and they did reshoots with this movie to possibly try and fix things. Because the Michael Keaton scene that was in the trailer was not the one that was in the movie. Like, he's in the movie, but it's just different. It's a different scene. So, I don't know, it was interesting. And then, Adria Arjona, she plays, Martine, and she's kind of like the female-esque love type thing. She works with Michael, and it just wasn't developed at all. And that's the thing, is all of these characters in this movie, like Tyrese Gibson is in this movie, plays Simon Stroud. I don't even know why he was in the movie. Like, why would you get Tyrese Gibson, who is known for the Fast and the Furious franchise? Why would you put him in your movie and not really use him? I don't know. And that's just the thing. They didn't develop anything at all. It was just, you were getting all this stuff thrown at you, all this information thrown at you throughout the movie. And it was just so fast paced and quick. And I mean, it had there was comic book action in it. That's the thing. If you're watching a comic book movie, you're going to get to see some fights. You're going to get to see some overblown CGI fight shit, because there's a lot of that in this movie. A lot of CGI fighting, and it's very just noticeable. It's just, the movie is just there, I guess. I don't know. It wasn't really exciting. It was just there, and the story and the pacing was just so awful. And I feel like they went and they edited this movie and they tore it apart to try and maybe fix what had been filmed. I don't really know. Like, I really am interested to know about what happened with the production of this movie, because it seems like the production was not very good because of the finished product. And this is another comic book character that I feel like needs a rated R movie. My God, like, there are certain comic book characters like Venom, this character Morbius, Deadpool, who has gotten rated R movie. There are certain comic book characters that need to have that rated R rating to make a proper version of their comic book character on the live action screen. Because this movie barely had any blood in it. Even though he's slashing people up, cutting them up, you can hear the blood, but you don't really see a lot of blood. It's just, and to me, that takes me out of it, especially with a character like this. So yeah, overall, Morbius was pretty disappointing, to tell you the truth. And there just wasn't a lot of hype or build up for this movie really coming out. And, you know, all the delays didn't help, and then they kept delaying it even more and more. And the pacing, the story, and it just wasn't intriguing. It was just your average B comic book movie from the early to mid 2000s, but in current set times, like today, where comic book movies have evolved and grown vastly since then. So I'm going to give Morbius, I'm going to give this bad boy a 5 out of 10. It was just meh for me. I just felt like I was there and nothing else really happened emotionally with me. So a 5 out of 10, everybody, for Morbius. I hope you guys enjoyed that review. Thank you for watching, and I'll be catching you on the tube laters because I have spoken.